Peace and welcome, peace and welcome, welcome. It's going to be probably a couple of minutes before the video actually gets started. I just need to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. Want to find the video and post it to social media. Let's see. All right. Let's see. So just give me a few moments. Okay, there we go. There, we got it. We got it. Okay. So I'm just going to take a moment or two just to post to my Facebook page. And then we will get started. And I welcome everyone who is here. And most importantly, not only do I thank you for your energy, but I thank you for your patience. Okay, just going to get this started, and then I just decided gone are the days of me rushing and fussing and worried about being on time and all of that good stuff. You just move as spirit moves you. So I'm just posting this to a couple of spaces, and then we will get started. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, let's see. One of the wonderful things about having a production team is that you have other people to do this for you. But I am solo, so it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So one last place, and then we'll get going. We'll get going. Okay. And we are done. So thank you. Wait a minute. It's asking me to create a job post. No, I am not hiring. There we go. All right. Okay. Welcome, CB. Thank you for being here. Welcome. And welcome to the rest of you who are in the background. I can see your numbers, even though I cannot see you, and that is okay. All right. I think let's see. Okay. How are you today, CB? How are you? All right. I have a little bit of music. Welcome, Jesse Matkin. Welcome. All right. So I had a blessed soul comment on one of my videos, basically saying, hey, you gave so-and-so a reading. I want a reading too. I just subbed. Manners are always wonderful. Introducing yourself, saying a word of gratitude or something, because otherwise it just makes a person feel like they're just being used. And I don't know, it's the mother in me that has to speak up. It just seems like in our day and age of smartphones and social media, that even though it is a wonderful blessing, it can sometimes give us a sense of immediate self-gratification that we forget our manners. It kind of reminds me, I was at the grocery store the other day, and a young man, he was probably no older than 19, was being trained by someone else who was probably no older than 20, showing him what to do. There was no greeting. There was no hi, how are you? Not even a hello. It was ring up the groceries. You owe this amount. There wasn't even a thank you or a bye. It's like customer service is, we have to work on our manners and remember that we're interacting with other human beings and to treat each other with courtesy and respect. So I just like to put that out there for those of you who could use it. Because, and sometimes we have our moments where we're not in the best space. And yeah, that does happen. That does happen. Okay. So anyway, so welcome CB, welcome Jesse, welcome Katrina, welcome Pavel. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I have some readings for us today. We're on hexagram number 28, and I made sure to get all of the beautiful cards ready. Yes, I am. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I've been doing a lot of self-care. And, just being easy on myself. And, sometimes it's not always easy. It's not always easy. But, just taking time for self. And it's always a good thing. Always a good thing. It's healthy. Okay. So thank you all for being in this space today. I greatly appreciate you, and forgive me if I keep looking off to the side because that is where the chat is, and I'm keeping up with the conversations going on in the chat room. But thank you all for being here today. Thank you for sharing your energy, and let's take a nice deep centering breath to welcome us into this sacred space. We invite our guardian angels, our ancestors, to join us. Here you go. All right, thanks. And thank you, Pavel. Pavel says, thank you, Tamu, for holding space. You are welcome. And thank you, because I couldn't do it without all of you. And thank you so much for those wonderful words that you left on my Facebook page regarding Lana McAllister's wonderful book. She was a guest on our show here. It was titled Female Orgasm, so you can check that out. I think it's probably one of the highest ranking videos. As they say, sex sells. That wasn't the intention for the video, and it really wasn't really about sex, but about a woman's ability to be able to relax and to receive. And she gave some wonderful advice. Critical Break is laughing. The 12-year-old, the 10-year-old little girl in her is laughing. And me too. I'm that one who still laughs at burps and farts and stuff like that. I'm a mother of all boys. So, and I would say probably at least one of my sons, if not two of them, are probably a little more reserved than I am, and they're always like, "Mom, you're so gross," or "Mom, you have such an awful sense of humor." And then the other son is like, oh, the other sons are like, "Oh, you have a sense of humor just like so and so." I'm not going to mention any names because I'm not, but hopefully I will have one of my sons on again soon. Maybe I can convince him. He's studying quantum physics, getting his PhD at University of Chicago, and I would love to have him on the show again to discuss physics. I did right after he graduated, and now that he's in grad school, and I know winter break is coming up soon, so maybe he will. So Critical Break says, I stay in my inner child as much as possible, so a good giggle is always on the edge. That is so true. That is so true. Okay, so it's been a minute since we checked in with our Goddess Oracle. And so that's what we're going to do to kick us off today. We're going to check in with the Divine Feminine, which is ourself, aspects of ourselves. Grand Rising, Regina. Thank you for being here. Peace, love, and blessings to you as well. So we're going to see what Divine Feminine energy comes up today that we can remember and embrace and connect with. Okay. Okay. Oh, let's see if I can get the pronunciation right. Okay. Kotlaku. Kotlaku. Grief. Let's see, she's holding the full moon that is in tears. So we have on the one hand connecting with our inner child and giggling. Now we are embracing the idea of grief. So let's see. All right, you know, there's my glasses. Okay. Let's see what Kotlaku has to say about grief. And, oh, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put my spectacles on just for say. Grief. We're going to read her poem. With my head heavy with loss, hopefully that will come into focus. With my head heavy with loss, with my eyes blinded by tears, I wander, unable to rest, unable to find ease. I am dry. My bones are dust in the desert sun. My heart ripped out lies broken on the ground. Each step I take in living tramples it anew. Each breath I take in living ruptures my wounds. How can I bear the unbearable? How can I survive the insurmountable? Will my sorrow ever end? Will my loss ever be filled? Will my longing ever cease? Mythology. Kotlaku, or serpent skirt. Let's see. We're a little out of focus. There we go. We have that. Kotlaku, or serpent skirt, is mother of the Aztec deities. She gets her name because she wears a skirt made of swinging rattlesnakes. She is worshipped as Earth Mother and Life and Death Mother. She found some white plumed feathers one day, placing them on her breast, became pregnant. When the other gods, her children, discovered her pregnancy, they swore to kill her to keep the new offspring from supplanting them. Only her beloved daughter, Koyohuacool. Here, I will show you that word and maybe you can figure it out. There's the name, her daughter's name right there. The moon goddess warned her mother. Koyohuacool was decapitated by the sun god, and the grieving Kotlaku placed her daughter's luminous head in the sky. So there you go. That was her daughter's luminous head. Very interesting mythology. So let's continue. Kotlaku is here to help bring you face to face with your grief. Wow. How many of us try to turn from our grief? Or, I was listening to one of my courses right now. I'm studying to become certified as a life coach, and one of the things in there was about listening with empathy and not being so quick, you know, when someone shares about grief that they're having, not being so quick to say, oh, you're going to be okay, it's fine, you'll get over this. And you know, rather than allowing them to just feel their emotions and move through it. So this is what that reminds me of. She is here to tell you that there is no way around grief. There is no place you can hide from grief. The way to wholeness lies in going through your grief. Whose nose is itching right now? My nose keeps itching. And it only happens when I'm doing the live stream. Is it like someone's here? I know Miss CB probably knows a little bit about that. The way to wholeness lies in going through your grief. Have you been afraid to face the pain that accepting grief and going through the grief process will bring? Have you been hiding from grief, pretending you are really okay? Perhaps you fear the grief is so great that you will remain in it for the rest of your life. Have you done some of your grieving, but not all of it, so that it catches you unaware in odd moments? Perhaps you are staying in a situation you need to leave, but fear the grief that leaving would engender. It is imperative for your healing process that you grieve. It is time to wail and keen and moan. It is time to ask for support from friends and family. Life is about loss, and loss is a part of life. The seasons change, and all is in the state of transition. Even grief is Even grief, if fully faced, will finally lessen. In time, you will feel stronger and more alive. One day, your wounds will fade to scars. Remember that your process takes as long as it needs to take, and that everyone's time of grief is different. Cote tells you to feel the grief so that healing can come. So there you go. Feel the grief. And those of us who are supporting others in their grief, whether or not, you know, it's the loss of a human being in their life, rather through death, through divorce, through any type of relationship separation, you know, parent, child, or partners, lovers, any of that. Supporting them through it and allowing them to express themselves is a beautiful thing. Okay. All right. So we're gonna, let's see if we can keep this up. That's kind of hidden. See if we can keep this right there. Is this gonna work? There we go. Okay. And it's interesting how the light is really reflecting on the moon face, so it's like almost washed out. There, you can see it a little better there. Isn't that beautiful? All right, let me put that right there. Okay, so we are on hexagram number 28, and Ma Padma Devi, title 6 hexagram, excess. Excess. It's almost, almost kind of reminds you of grief, huh? Excess. And the key words for excess are stress, overload, exhaustion, obsessiveness, gluttony, burdens, worries, the breaking point. So we will set that there. And Benabel Wynn's translation of hexagram number 28, which is Da Gol, undertaking the great tipping point, excessive force. And we will, let's see, Can we put that there? So that way you can see the ancient bone script for hexagram number 28. And it's very interesting. You have lake over wind. And again, we have another of the hexagram where the two bagua are opposites of each other. And so let's look at what Benabel Wynn has to say about bagua. We're going to start with bagua wind because, as usual, we always work our way from the bottom up. So wind, which is shun. Okay, wind. Gentle thoughts, enter gently, proceeding conscientiously, flexibility, adaptability, influence, sensitivity, responsiveness, pervasiveness, assimilation. And the element is wood. The direction is southeast. The season, winter solstice, cardinal spring, life aspect, wealth, finances, assets. Medically speaking, it's related to thighs, legs, respiratory system, parasympathetic nervous system, large intestine, depression, mental wellness. The chakra is the sacral chakra. That's your space of creativity, sexual energy. The animal is the fowl. The archetype is the martial artist. And the immortal is He Jian Gu, patron of women diviners, female miracle workers, sorceress, and witches. So for all of you magical women out there, the wind is your bagua. And lake over the wind. And that's deep and mysterious. I don't know about you guys, but I love bodies of water. I love the ocean. I love streams and rivers. Lakes, quite frankly, they are beautiful and massive, but they are also mysterious and extremely scary to me. I think maybe because growing up in the 70s and early 80s, I heard too many tales of the Loch Ness Monster. Let's see, where are we? We are looking at Lake Dui. And with the wind, we had a yin line and then two yang lines on top. With Lake, we have double yang lines on bottom and a yin line on top. And remember, yang is masculine. This is masculine energy, and yin is feminine energy. Fertile womb, receptivity for further growth, nourishment, receiving pleasure, tranquility, devotion, joy, satisfaction, stagnation, openness, intuition, vision. The element is metal. Regina said, my grandmother was named Grandma Wind. Oh, that's beautiful. Pavel, my mind trembles with shimmering leaves. My heart sings with a touch of sunlight. My life is glad to be floating with all things into the blue of space and the dark of time. By Rumi. Thank you, Pavel, for that beautiful offering. Direction, west. Autumnal equinox, cardinal winter, children, fertility, nurturing, medically, mouth, oral cavity, digestion and reproductive system, chronic pain or disease, nutrition, sexuality. The chakra is the third eye. The animal is either the sheep and also the tiger. The archetype is the diviner. And the immortal is Zhongli Chuan, patron of warriors, ceremonial magicians, and alchemists. Wow, okay. All right, so we're going to go to chapter 28. Let's see. You know what? What I want to do is, how about we start from the simplest and then work our way up? So before we get to Benabel Wynn's more digestible translation, let's go ahead and look at the literal translation by Professor Huang, the physicist, late professor from MIT. Great excess. Here, one moment. Let me move these cards. Great excess. And pardon me, don't mean to be rude, and I was not picking my nose, but my nose keeps tickling. The column is bent. It is better to go somewhere. Sign of the sacrifice. The offering is wrapped in white palm, faultless. The withered willow sprouts leaves. The old man gets a young wife. Everything goes well, at least for the old man. The column is bent, misfortune. Tall columns, good omen, but beware of snakes. The withered willow blossoms, the old woman gets a young husband. Ooh, good for her. No blame, no praise. Hey, what about that? Overreaching during crossing. Water overhead, disaster. So there you go. That is the literal translation. And we'll go back to Benabel Wynn. And we have lake over wind. Let's put that there. Okay. You are the sage who stands independent and fierce, without fear, renouncing the world you knew. It is a tipping point. You are reaching critical mass, embarking on a great endeavor. You may need to use excessive personal force. You are on a path of transformation. To facilitate that transformation, excess force may be necessary. By the laws of nature, there are consequences to the use of excess force. It is a turning point in your life. A dried poplar yields one final blossom, its last great act before the poplar withers. There you go. Excess force. And then last but not least, let's see, where did I put it? Our brother, Brian Brown Walker, always manages to create a very beautiful interpretation, translation of the Bagua, of the Gua. And I always try to keep it somewhere between interpretation or translation, because I remember one of the first times I brought his readings, and I was chastised by one of the commenters saying that Brian Brown Walker's is an interpretation, not a translation. But as you can see, Dr. Huang's, that is a translation. It's a literal translation. And unless you're translating something literal verbatim, your translation stands between being an interpretation. It's just the way it is. And that's why it's always good to have multiple translations, because everyone is going to have a slightly different reason why they chose this word over that word. 28. Ta qual, preponderance of the great. There are great pressures at work. By meeting them with modesty and patience, you avoid misfortune and meet success. The image of this hexagram is that of a beam under a great load. It sags in the middle and it is in danger of giving away. Let's see if I can take these off because they're kind of bothering me. Okay, where were we? You are in a similar situation now. The pressures of the moment are enormous. and there is a temptation to wiggle away and flee, or to resort to the plotting, conniving, and aggressive actions of the ego. It is by resisting this temptation and holding firmly to proper principles that you survive and succeed. This is, in fact, a moment for which you have been preparing yourself for some time. A powerful energy has been accumulated. Imagine a flood pressing against the dam, and it is up to you to direct its flow. If you succumb to fear, desire, or anger and resort to incorrect behaviors, the dam bursts and the pent-up energy causes destruction and misfortune. If, on the other hand, you cling to what is correct, modesty, balance, patience, independence, and gentleness, then you will obtain the aid of the higher power, and the accumulated energy will be directed toward creating a profound success. What is called for now is quiet integrity with others. No matter how they may assault you, remain modest and patient. In your actions, seek to penetrate gently and steadily rather than forcibly and explosively. Meet the difficulties of the day cheerfully and resolutely. By taking great care now, by remaining correct in every moment, by embodying the principles of the sage, you make possible the arrival of good patience, of good fortune, sorry. All right, so there we go. So in between those three translations and interpretations, you can find your footing. Yeah, lots of tickling going on. And in our 64 Faces of Awakening, and this is by Dr. Rosie Aronson. She is a psychotherapist. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at those eyes. We have 28, totality. All right, totality. Now for this, because the print is so tiny, I'm definitely oh. Thank you, Pavel. Pavel says, Tamu, whether pointing to the moon or scratching your nose, all according with the Tao. Nothing ever wasted in the Tao. Okay, so we have number, and this is in case you wanted to see how it's set up in the book. I highly suggest this deck. It is sort of like it's a modern deck, and it's modern inspired interpretation of the I Ching. That's basically what it is, and it's designed to go along with the Gene Keys. I believe the Gene Keys are by Richard Rudd, I think, and his is a very thick book, the Gene Keys, and it correlates to the I Ching. So this is really tiny print, so I'm going to have to hold it up a little closer. So we're looking at totality, 28. My story. I was a sensitive, fearful child. I looked around me and saw all that could go wrong. I could lose someone I loved. An earthquake could hit. Did you guys hear about the earthquake that hit somewhere in the middle of the South? And someone said that they could feel the vibrations in Atlanta, even in Marietta. And I think the earthquake might have hit Tennessee. So I don't have the news, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but you might want to check that out. An earthquake could hit. A bomb could go off. I could fall and hurt myself. I could get sick. My heart could break. Whenever I looked, what does that say? Whenever I looked, I felt unsafe. As I grew older, I became obsessed with life, or rather, with avoiding death. At first, I focused on safety and survival. I worked hard to stay healthy, to make money, to build a home, and to become a pious member of the community. Though I seemed happy and at ease to others, I felt hollow inside. Deep down, I knew I was meant to do more with my life, but I was afraid to do it. I was waiting for a readiness that never seemed to come. The quality of my fears began to change. I became less worried about not making a living and more worried about having no reason to live. I began experiencing night terrors. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I was chased down, struck by gremlins, and obliterated by natural disasters. I started avoiding sleep, too afraid to close my eyes. Instead, wide-eyed and reckless, I hurled myself into activity after activity, determined to fill up my life with meaning and a sense of security. Who can identify with that one? If I could only take more risks, or do more, or do it faster, I thought. So I bought a bicycle and tore down the street without a helmet. My gambling behavior landed me in the hospital. Kind of reminds me of the time last year when I went for a walk with my little one and he had a scooter. And I decided, you know what? Maybe I could go on a scooter and race around and I can still do this. And I got on his little scooter and went as fast as I could, hit a little, you know how you have grass that might grow up in the crack of a driveway? Hit that grass. The scooter literally split apart. The bottom went that way. The handlebars stayed in my hand, and I just flew in the air and landed on my left hip and landed in the hospital. Not for months, but oh my gosh. For months, I was forced to be still, with eyes closed and nothing but my inner demons to keep me company. As I was lying there, immobilized, I had no choice but to face the multitude of fears I had been trying to escape ever since I was a child. My fear of pain, of pleasure, of the past, of the future, of failure, of success, of life, of death, of non-existence, of purposelessness. It wasn't until I gave myself fully to the fear that the strangest thing happened. All of my senses heightened, an inexplicable sense of aliveness welled up in my heart, and I was overcome by the eternal nature of my human spirit. From that moment on, I've trusted life and committed myself unconditionally to whatever it brought me. So there you go. Number 28. So this, the sensitive and fearful child who's basically afraid of everything, and through her fear of being afraid of death, of not having purpose, of this or that or this or that, she's tried to avoid that fear and try to fill up those spaces with everything. We can find ourselves doing that. And, that even goes the same with Kotlaku's grief, where it was mentioned that, we have to face our grief. We have to go through our grief rather than pretending like it doesn't exist. And same with this young woman. Her fearfulness of life, of everything that could go wrong, caused her, instead of embracing life, she tried to fill it up so she could get over that fear. And it was only by accepting the fear and looking at it and being okay with it was she able to finally move through. And that's something that we can think about, because whether we have anxiety or multitude of other things where we're constantly worried about this or that. You know, I know myself of people who, and even myself, and you can probably even identify, you've heard of people, they've been in a relationship with someone that they really truly loved, but they were so fearful that that relationship would eventually come to an end, or that that person would eventually leave them. So because of their fear, they try to fill all the spaces with, whether, you know, it's alcohol or all kind of self-medication, and therefore becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if we allow ourselves to stop and to take a moment to pause and just allow ourselves to feel the energy of whatever the emotions that we're going through at the time, because the only way we're going to actually get over it or grow from it or move from it is to actually feel through it, just whether it's with grief or with fear. Face our fears, face our grief. And once we do that, we're able to move through it. So hopefully I'm going to remember this lesson today, being willing to face self, face grief, face fear. I have paperwork that I have to fill out today, and I've had this paperwork for over a month, and I have a fear of paperwork. That's my confession, my transparency. It's very difficult unless I'm reading a book, you know, where you can skip around and go through and read the parts where you want. I have paperwork that's very linear and you have to get through it. It paralyzes me with fear. And so today when I woke up, I was like, okay, I'm going over to the middle school. I've been invited for, I think, like the third or fourth time to go over to the middle school to facilitate a meditation session with the middle school kids and take one of my singing bowls. I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And when I come back home, I'm going to face my fears. That's literally what I said to myself. I'm going to face my fears, open this envelope, and read the paperwork. And I opened the envelope this morning, and I took a deep breath. And I kind of looked at the paperwork and I was like, this isn't so bad. What was I afraid of all of this time? And I'm going to go through the paperwork, do what I need to do, face it, and get through it, which is really good because the deadline for the paperwork is tomorrow. But you know, you get Critical Break says, me too, I dread paperwork. There's something about paperwork, Critical Break, that just freezes me in my tracks. Like how a mice, I'm afraid of mice and mice, paperwork, and spiders. So, yeah. Depending on how big and hairy the spider is, I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to face the spider. I've learned how to refrain from killing them, though. Get that glass jar, put it over it. Reminds me of when I lived in Florida. Oh my gosh. Who's ever, I don't know if they have them in other places I don't know what a vole's. Critical Break, what is a vole? Don't know what a vole is. But in Florida, they have palmetto bugs. I don't know why they're called palmetto bugs. Do they nest in palm trees? But basically, they're giant, hissing cockroaches. They're like, that's about 2.5, not quite 3 inches. And this is no exaggeration. Oh my gosh. One day in my apartment, I saw this giant palmetto bug. And when they see you, they will back up on their hind legs and they have the audacity to hiss at you. It's quite intimidating. Yep. So anywho, the only thing we didn't do today was our Tao reading, and I guess we'll just save that for another time. Oh, moles. Oh, do they call them voles where you're from? Or was that a, what do you call it? Typo. You meant moles. Yeah, moles. I've seen a mole. Those things are ugly. Pavel says the universe rewards those who are fearless. And that is true. That is true. However, I will not jump I will not, I have no plans, and it is not on my bucket list to go skydiving. God bless those who that is on their bucket list. There would have to be a life or death reason for me to jump out of that airplane. So I guess I'll have to miss my reward. Oh, so voles is something else. Learn something new every day. Critical Break said, no, voles. Voles look like a mouse. So how do you know the difference between a vole or a mouse? Critical Break. Ooh, moles are ugly. Okay, and we do have a pet mouse over here. Hey, you guys want to see my pet mouse? Hold on. Let me go get Mr. Squeakers. Hey, Mr. Squeakers. All right. This is our pet mouse. Hopefully he will not pee or poop on me, or I'd be completely grossed out. So this is Mr. Squeakers. And no one cleans Mr. Squeaker's cage but me. It's a bit overdue. Gonna have to clean it. Say hi, Mr. Squeakers. Please don't poop or pee on my table. So there we go. That's Mr. Squeakers. And my 8-year-old named him. Say hi. Isn't he just the cutest? Oh, isn't he just the cutest? So there you go. That's Mr. Squeakers. All right. Say bye-bye, Mr. Squeakers. So there you go. Let me go put Mr. Squeakers back and wash my hands right quick. Okay, so I am back. So that was our little baby, Mr. Squeakers. We had him for about a year now. Did we have him for a year? No, we got him late spring. Late spring. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and bring this session to a close. So thank you so much for being here. And next Tuesday, if all goes well, going to have a guest on our channel. You can check her out. She's Tammy, Dr. Tammy Belichevsky. She wrote 2 books. One is Manifesting Love from the Inside Out, and the next one is Manifesting Prosperity from the Inside Out. And the prosperity is not all about financial prosperity, even though that's part of it. So you can check out her website at www.tammy, TAMMI, phd.com. She's a very sweet and lovely lady, and I can't wait to have her on my show. Probably about 7 years ago, my pediatrician had, had recommended Tammy's book to me, one of her books to me, and after, I began to read the book and was really inspired by the book and had contacted Tammy. And in her book, Manifesting Prosperity from the Inside Out, she actually wrote a little paragraph or 2 about me. She included my letter that I wrote from her. So that's my 5 nanoseconds of fame. So anyway, she will be here. I believe it's going to be next Tuesday night. So I'm all excited about that. If you're interested in a private one-on-one session, check the description box below. You can see the link to my website. I appreciate each and every one of you. And yes, it was a melt moment for me, Critical Break, because I had no idea. I had no idea until I had received the book, and I melted. And I'd like to encourage each and every one of us to remember uh, to, greet each other with kindness, greet each other with appreciation. And because, you know, it just makes that life that much easier. And hopefully we'll get back to being a society where when we're walking down the street, we're okay with saying good morning or good day or good evening. And we're okay with saying uh, thank you and yes and all of those wonderful things. And, one of my favorite things I enjoy doing is when I'm walking down the street and I see a woman whose hair is beautiful or well dressed or lovely, always try to find something about a person to give them a compliment, because you never know, that compliment that you give a person or that greeting that you give a person might be a bright spot of sunshine in their day or even their week, in their month. I've had people say to me, "Oh, you look so beautiful," or "Your eyes look really," and I'm just like, happens to be one of those days where I'm feeling like, "Oh, woe is me," and cheer each other up, because we have to remember that we are all in this together. So I just wanted to share that, just for all of us to remember that. Okay, so let's take a nice deep centering breath. Let's take a moment to remember our ancestors and all those who have come before us. I'm Tamuagina, Priestess Heart, and I thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day. I wish you peace, sweet peace, and great bliss. Thank you. Bye-bye.